Hello, Collective. Welcome to Tarot Tapas, a small bite to feed your soul. I am back to do your check-in. We're starting the month of November, and so I wanted to do an in-depth Celtic cross, but in a different format style reading for you to see if the universe has a message to help you on your journey towards expansion, enlightenment, spiritual awakening, and all things that help us evolve into wonderful human beings. And so I do have to apologize. I've been a little bit under the weather, so if my voice goes in and out, does all the weird things, I hope it's not too disruptive. We're going to try to get through this as best as possible. But now that I've cleared my throat, this month of November starts with the festival of Dia de los Muertos, which is, I am Mexican, so we celebrate Dia de los Muertos. It is the time of the year which our beloved departed come back and visit and sit with us and make us feel their warmth and love again. And the veil is thinned, and so I do, and I sometimes post them here on YouTube, but sometimes I just post them on my TikTok. I do oracle pulls for each zodiac sign, and I couldn't help but notice that I got 3 different zodiac signs this week that were called on to reevaluate their generational traumas and the generational baggage and cultural traumas and culture baggage that they're carrying from their ancestors. And so I really wanted to do a reading to call on our ancestors to come in and bring us some guidance about how we can best break those generational curses, or not generational curses, but heal generational wounds, and do things that will help pave the way for ourselves to release us from the bonds that tie us to those generational traumas and ordeals, and pave the way for the generation that comes, after us, so that when they look back on us and remember us, we'll be remembered in, we'll be remembered as mavericks and people that are ancestors to them that paved the way for them to be living their best lives to their highest potential. And so I think that's a really, really topic it's a topic that I think is very important, and that a lot of us are living through in this day and age that we have not addressed. And so I wanted to see what guidance we could bring in from our loved ones. So we're going to do a Celtic cross. And this is a general reading, so it's not going to resonate with everybody, but I do have quite a few videos. If this doesn't resonate for you, I do urge you to check my treasure trove. Something might. And if it doesn't resonate with you now, it might later. It might have already happened. It might not have happened yet. It might happen later in the future. You just never know when this particular message will be useful. So I would like to start by thanking our ancestors for their guidance and allowing them the space here to communicate a message to the collective to see what we need to do to pave new roads, to pave new ways, to help us break those generational traumas and wounds, heal those wounds. What an appropriate card for this topic. At the center of the reading, we have the 8 of Cups. Now, the 8 of Cups in most depictions is that image of Moses walking away from the life that he knew. He's walking away from being a prince. He's walking away from, the life of comfort that he's grown to love, the mother that he always knew. And he's walking towards uncertainty, but he knows that he's walking towards his destiny. And so I think this card is really important at the center of our reading here when it comes to this particular topic, because I think that this is our job, is to walk away, to detach from the comfort of our cultures, of our familial ties. And I'm not saying detach from your family. That's not what this means, right? It means do things differently. It means, pave the way on your own. Like, don't let anybody pave it for you. And I'm not saying reject generational wealth. I'm saying do the unexpected with it. Do things that are outside of the scope of what's expected of you in order for you to be able to create new opportunities and break, break down boundaries and things for you and for those that come behind you, right? And so I think this is a beautiful energy to get here at the center of the deck here. And I do think it acknowledges the discomfort that comes with being the jet setter, with being the one that decides to break those norms, being the one that says no more, it stops here. I am releasing this, these wounds. I am healing them. I'm not continuing this cycle, this pattern of, of trauma, of pain. I'm going to leave it behind me. And, if you really think about it, after Moses left, I don't know if you're familiar with it. I grew up Catholic, so I know a lot of these stories, but I'm also fascinated by anthropology and everything that has to do with religion. So I know a lot of these stories, but if you're not familiar with it, after Moses leaves the palace, he goes to search for his higher purpose. He goes through the desert, and it's uncomfortable and it's ugly, and he doesn't know if he's going to survive. And after he reaches the point where he's finally going to give up, that's when he finds, his oasis. And so I think this is reaffirming the fact that this may not be the easiest thing for you to do, to put your foot down and say, this, whatever it is that I'm carrying, the burden of the family that I'm carrying on my shoulders, of my culture, of my, it stops here, it ends here. I will no longer continue that oppression. It's hard. It's not the easiest thing to take on. That's not the easiest mantle to take on, but it is very necessary. And in the end, it's very rewarding. So here in the challenge position, we have the Nine of Cups in a reverse position. So many of us culturally have been indoctrinated to feel like we cannot create our own fulfillment because, and this isn't necessarily the case in my particular family, but being Latina, I have come to know a lot of stories of people who cannot make decisions for their own fulfillment because they are, and I don't want to call it a burden because a lot of us don't find it to be a burden, but it's kind of like you just have this given responsibility of carrying, doing things that will benefit the entire family as a whole. We're not allowed to do for ourselves because that's considered selfish. And so I think that the challenging part for us to be able to go on this quest for, moving away from these generational curses or, these burdens, these familial ties, comes in the feeling guilty when we strive to do things that will fulfill us as individuals. So what's underneath that is, I'm just going to say it, it's tradition. Your loved ones struggled, and so you're expected to struggle or honor that struggle in some way, shape, or form. And being an individual sometimes is just not in the cards for a lot of people. And the Ace of Cups in a reverse position. So the free spirit is a thing, right? And sometimes, yes, sometimes we are taught to love something and we end up loving it, but other times we don't find passion in the things that we're taught to continue. And it doesn't matter if we find passion in them, we're kind of expected to continue them anyway, right? And so that Ace of Cups being the underlying energy is that lack of passion, that lack of drive, because it's not something that's fulfilling to us. It's the expectation, right? All right. In the recent past, we have the Ten of Cups. And so I think that means is whatever worked in the past is the expectation is there, because whatever it is that you're carrying or whatever it is that moves forward with you is something that worked in the past to reach the ultimate fulfillment of the family. So, or the community per se, right? It's not always a family. Sometimes it's a community, sometimes it's a culture in itself, as a whole, right? And so I think whatever it is that you're expected to carry on is what worked before, right? But that doesn't mean it's going to fulfill you and work moving forward. And so in the present moment, where are my warriors in the present moment here? in regards to generational wounds. Thank you, ancestors, for the message so far. This is beautiful. I love that we get to discuss this because I see it come up more and more, but I really do feel like we're on the precipice of immense change caused by our generation and the generations that follow us, because we are putting our foot down and saying no more. We're not going to continue these cycles, right? Yes, the Hierophant in the reverse position. That's a rebellious energy. Like I was just saying, our generation and the generations that are coming. And there's a lot. I'm kind of at this age where I'm in the middle. I'm middle-aged, guys. Yeah, I've just dated myself. Where you're in the middle, and I hear so much of the older generations kind of trash talking on the younger generations, like, oh, these kids are so entitled, blah, blah, blah. I hear so much of that. But all I see is this beautiful rebellion, this beautiful energy to rebel against the authority, and not in a way that's like, I know that sounds bad, but it's necessary. It's necessary because we're stuck in these cycles and we're stuck in these ways that this current energy right here of the Hierophant in a reverse position is like, it's like a rebellious energy. It's like when you put your foot down and you say to society, I will no longer march to the beat of your drum. I'm going to do whatever fulfills me and makes me happy, and poo-poo on your expectations. And I really love that as our current energy. It goes, I can't tell you how much this reading just goes in line with the message that I wanted to bring across. I just wanted to inspire, break the generational curses. Just because you were parented by a certain kind of parent doesn't mean that you have to, translate that to future generations, the negative aspects of it anyway. In the future, near future, we have the world in a reverse position. It's not over. The fight is not over. It's not nearly over, and we may not complete that in our lifetime. It might be. This is like the long game. This is not something that we're going to like wake up tomorrow and be like, ta-ta, generational curses, generational traumas, generational wounds, cultural ties that don't serve our highest purpose. We're renewed and now we do things our way. No, it's difficult and it's not over yet. And there's a lot of fighting that we're going to have to do. We are the way pavers, and there's a lot of uprooting and a lot of demolition that has to happen. And not all of us are going to be up for the task, I'll be honest, But it's important to keep moving forward, because when that cycle does end, oh man, that's just beautiful that we're going to be able to get our, descendants to a place where they can just be themselves and be self-fulfilled and not have to worry about meeting any expectations other than their own, And I don't think that's selfish, even if it sounds it. I think it's a beautiful, freeing energy. In our power, Knight of Swords. Eye on the target. So in our power is the Knight of Swords. And the Knight of Swords, I always think of a jousting match. And I always think of the knights with the lances. Even though this is the Knight of Swords, this is the image that I always get. It's the knights with the lances. And they know exactly where they need to hit the other knight. And they stay in place and they run full speed ahead, but they never budge. They never fidget. They have their eye on their target the whole time, and they just go full speed ahead. And that's we're the bulldozers. We're the bulldozing generation. I don't know how else to describe that. We are the bulldozing generation. We are here to move forward, full speed ahead, full force, knock down this ragged, rancid, stale, institutional, everything that's around us, so that the new generations can come in and rebuild in beautiful ways, right? I really do truly believe that. My throat chakra is suffering right now. It's like, no, you cannot inspire that kind of change right now. I'm not saying all of you are going to go out and I'm just inspiring the world right now, but all right. And what's to come? Four of Cups and 10 of Pentacles. In order to reach this stage of abundance and fulfillment, we need to break the apathy. We need to break the complacency. We need to stop being the generation that sits back and watches things unfold that are unfair and unjust and does not do a thing to change it. If this is dealing strictly with familial, generational wounds, right? We cannot be the generation that just sits back and watches everything take place and allows the cycle to continue, right? Even if we're not the ones that are doing the childbearing, that are breaking new generations into the world. We cannot be the generation that just sits there and watches things unfold without intervening. We need to take action, and, there's no other way to reach this goal. There's no other way to make these changes but taking action and breaking out of this apathy that has been created of just watching things unfold. Yeah, make things happen. Now, the Queen of Wands is actually in the hopes and fears position. It's a scary thought to take matters into your own hands and create the disruption and create, manifest the disturbances that need to happen in order for these changes to take place. That's a scary thing, but it's also the thing that gives the most hope. And I think that she's a source of inspiration. She's the witch of the tarot. She's the magic maker. She will take things and make them happen no matter what the obstacle. And I think that's really, really, it makes sense in the hopes and fears section of this reading, because it is a scary job. It really is. I'm not saying it's easy. We discussed it from the very beginning with that very first card. It's not an easy job, and not everybody's up to task. But it's an important one. It's an inspiring one, and it's the one that sparks true change and actually, catapults things forward. So we're going to move into the section of advice or overall message for the reading. Knight of Cups in the reverse position. Let's see what else we have. I need more context for that one. Because the Knight of Cups is a sense of vulnerability to me, but it's also the little things, being appreciative. You know what? I just got a thing that as much as this whole kind of vibe for this reading has been kind of a destructive energy, it's almost like I'm being told, don't forget the kindness. Don't forget the little acts of kindness, because those are equally earth-changing. Those are equally as disruptive to the current norms. The little things, the showing people you care about them, the being kind to the stranger, the, not doing things that are huge and spectacular, but that are significant and that are going to cause little chain reaction changes. Excuse me. Oh my goodness. I'm all stuffy now. But I'm going to post this one. I know it's going to be kind of gross because I was all stuffy and gross, but I'm going to post it because it's such an important message. And I don't know, it might not resonate with any of you, but maybe somewhere down the line, someone will stumble upon my channel 20, 30 years from now and see this and be motivated to change, even if it's something small within their own cycle, 10 of Wands. Yeah, it's a big thing to take on. It's a large job. And I keep saying it, not everybody's going to be up to task, and that's okay. That doesn't make you less important in the movement, even if you can't fully contribute and be the Moses that steps away and moves towards the really heavy lifting part of it. Even if it's just the little things that you can do to facilitate that movement forward and kind of say, what is the word I'm looking for? Stifle the inactivity or the movement backwards. I think that's all very important. These are all very important roles. So many here. Stand for truth with that Ace of Swords. Stand for truth, but don't become obsessive about it. There's such a thing as toxic, what is it called? Toxic activism. You don't want to get obsessed with it. Yep, don't get obsessed with it, but do it for truth, and, keep your eye on the target, know where you're going with it. Don't become so much of an activist that you're kind of, trampling on other people's rights and comfort levels, but also, keep moving forward. Seven of Wands is kind of a letting down of your guard. It's just continuing the movement forward. It's like you don't have to be defensive about it. When you are backed by truth, when you are backed by this Ace of Swords kind of energy, and your cause is for the greater good, you don't need to be defensive about it. You don't need to explain it to everybody. You're probably going to get questioned a lot. What are you doing? Why are you doing this? But especially when you're trying to break those kind of generational things, you're going to get, unpleasant feedback about it. But you don't have to explain yourself to anybody. You don't have to be defensive about it. Make the decision. Nine of Swords. Don't let yourself get caught up in, too much of the overthought about it. Don't let it, like, again, it's addressing, don't trap yourself in this obsession of it, but just create a new perspective. Focus on creating a new perspective for the people around you. I'm really sorry. I'm struggling now. I think I might have to call it here, but focus on creating new perspectives for the people around you so they can see that there's a better way. And the Fool in a reverse position, it's not as big of a risk as you think it's going to be. The important thing is just taking the leap. I will take a charm and we'll end it there because I'm hurting here. I'm really struggling. It's like almost like, our ancestors are giving us this message, but someone doesn't want it to get out. But no, I told you I was a little under the weather, so there's that. And it's the key. It's like you're the ribbon cutting generation. It's like this is the ribbon cutting on the way to this new life, this new world, opening up this new shiny, bright, existence. And it's also cutting through those bonds. It's cutting those ties, cutting yourself away from all those things that you were forced to carry when you came into this world, into the family that you came into, the culture that you came into, the religion that you came into. It's cutting those things away so that you can shine as an individual. I'm so going to leave this here for you. I hope that resonated. I hope it wasn't too hard to watch with my sniffling and my struggling here. But I hope it really did bring you a solid message here. And I hope that resonates. I hope that was of value. I will catch you in the next one.